Good morning. I'm delighted to welcome you this morning to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. On this special day, Valentine's Day, or as we say here in Mexico, El Día de Amor y Amistad, a day of friendship and love. My name is Linda Soren, and I am a member of the Sunday Service Committee. We are so pleased that you chose to join us today. During this long pandemic, it often feels that every day is the same as any other. However, for me, I look forward to Sunday because Sunday we have this wonderful UU service. We hope that you too will enjoy this special day with its carefully chosen musical selections, be inspired by the words of our guest speaker, and find time for reflection. The UUFSMA is a welcoming community. Please know that wherever you are, whatever your beliefs, and whoever you love, you are welcome here with us. If this is your first visit, we hope to see you again virtually, and we welcome everyone to invite your friends and family to join us. Please go to our website at uufsma.org to find a link to today's order of service, as well as a link to easily sign on to our Zoom service, donate to our fellowship, update your annual pledge, find a link to your YouTube channel with recordings of today's and previous Sunday services, as well as announcements of activities and membership information. Please share our website with your friends and family too. Our breakout discussions after the service are great places to reflect on today's message with old and new friends. Just stay connected after the postlude music ends, and you'll be randomly assigned to a breakout room. If only one or two people show up, sit tight for a minute, and you will be moved to a larger group. Near the end of the service, we'll post a question to kick off your discussion. And if you're a new visitor, we invite you to delay accepting your breakout room, and so that our minister and our membership committee can personally welcome you and chat with you for a few minutes in our main room. And now we take you to the music of Duke Ellington.
Lord, dear Lord above, God Almighty, God of love, please look down and see my people through. Lord, dear Lord above, God Almighty, God of love, please look down and see my people through. lilies of the valley, neither toil nor spin, and flowers bloom in springtime, birds will sing. Often we'll feel weary, but He knows our every care. Come to Him in secret, He will hear your every care. Up from dawn till sunset, men work hard all day. Come Sunday, oh, come Sunday, that's the day.
Come Sunday. Oh, come Sunday, that's the day. As Linda reminded us, many of us look forward to Sunday. Perhaps for you, it's been a day for family, a day of rest, a Sabbath, a day when we set the mundane work and demands aside for just a bit and reflect upon higher things. For others in other faith traditions, it might be Friday or Saturday, but for us and many others, Sunday is the day. It is, of course, the day when we all come together to continue the creation of this beloved community, to be inspired and challenged, to see familiar faces and new faces, and to feel the love and care that we share for each other. It's not enough to just know about it, but we need to experience it here in this gathered community every Sunday. So welcome to Sunday morning here at the UU Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. I'm the Reverend Tom Rossiello, minister of the fellowship, and it's my privilege to participate in this morning's service. Today, our guest minister will be the Reverend Walter LaFlore. It's a joy for me to welcome Walter to our congregation. We go back a long way. Walter discovered Unitarian Universalism attending the First Parish of Stowe and Acton in Massachusetts in 2003, just about a year after I'd become the minister there. He served in many lay leadership positions and helped us to make some very important steps on the path to racial justice. Walter caught the UU bug big time and soon was starting his journey towards the UU ministry. I had the privilege to walk a few steps with him on that journey. He graduated from Andover Newton Theological School and was ordained in 2009. The Reverend LaFlore served as the minister of the UU Fellowship of Poughkeepsie, New York for 7 years and is now the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke, Virginia. Before entering the ministry, Walter was the head of an organization that offered consulting to Fortune 500 companies, training and coaching managers with the focus on diversifying their workforce. With these skills, and as a minister of color in a still largely white denomination, I'm so grateful for Walter's service to the larger UU world. He just completed a 3-year term as trustee of the UU Ministers Association, and in 2016 he co-chaired its Committee on Anti-Racism, Anti-Oppression, and Multiculturalism. Not to mention the fact that he served on the board of the Unitarian Universalist Association from 2017 to 2020. You'll meet Walter a bit later in the service. And now each week, when we come together, we remember that we gather in peace and in gratitude, in hope and compassion, and in strength. With hearts full of love and minds guided by conscience, we gather to address the challenges of our time and explore the very depth of ourselves. And it is with a spark from the sacred fire that burns in each of us that we kindle a common flame, a flame that reminds us that we are one and that we have a very special and important light to share. Please join in singing Hymn 347, Gather the Spirit. The words will soon appear on your screen.
Good morning. I'm Bonnie McDowell, a member of the Fellowship's Board and of our COVID-19 Task Force. I add my welcome to all of you joining us today, wherever you are. The Task Force is a group of medical professionals and care team members with expertise we hope will be helpful to you for this pandemic. The good news is that registration for the vaccine is underway in San Miguel, so seniors are closer than ever to getting their shots. Appointments should be coming soon, so if you're over 60 and have a CERP number, we urge you to register as soon as possible. If you need help registering, just ask on our Gmail group. Somebody will help you. Don't wait to see if your private doctor will be able to get vaccine for you. It may never happen. So please register through the public health system. Any vaccine is better than no vaccine, even with the new variants of the virus around, and sooner is better than later. Looking ahead, when your vaccination is completed, what will that mean? Restaurants, dinner parties, travel, family gatherings? Well, not so fast. What is this vaccine designed to do? to greatly reduce your risk of a serious case of COVID, of being hospitalized, of dying, which is terrific. It's a big relief. But don't forget, you could still catch the infection. You just won't get so sick. You would still be able to spread it to other people. You still might have long-term health consequences. So until a large percentage of us are vaccinated, we need to keep up all our usual precautions. Well-fitted masks, distance from others and not sharing air, washing our hands. Use the best mask you can get. A KN95 is best. The next best would be to double up with a surgical mask and a cloth mask over it. To be effective, your mask has to really seal all around your face. If air leaks around the edges when you breathe, virus can get in. I'll post some ideas about improving the fit of your masks in the newsletter tomorrow. And in addition to improving your own masks, how about ordering some extra KN95s and giving them away to your friends who haven't tried KN95s yet, to the guy who delivers your water, the street vendors you pass every day, the taxi driver, anyone. This interdependent web of ours becomes a safer place if we're all better protected. Stay safe, my friends, and thank you. And now to Linda and Diego for our fellowship's covenant.
Please join me in reciting the fellowship's covenant. The words will appear on your screen shortly. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
We now enter into what's a very sacred time in our service, a time when members and friends share significant joys, sorrows, and concerns with their community. With each, we light a candle, indicating that that person or that thought or that prayer is with us this morning. If you'd like to share a joy, sorrow, or concern in a future service, you can email it to me and I will do that for you. If you wish to share something today, you can type it into the chat at this time. Let's start with a joy. Diana Amaya and many others of you, especially all her hermanas in the Mis Hermanas group, light this birthday candle for our service leader today, Linda Soren. Happy birthday, Linda. Sadly, this morning we will light several candles to remember folks in our own community who recently died of COVID, and candles of support and sympathy for their families. This first candle is for Dr. Diego Job Rodriguez Cruz, who passed away from COVID at the age of 36 and leaves behind his wife, Dr. Nancy Rojas, and two children, April, age 5, and Rafael, age 2. During his struggle with COVID, we lit several candles for him and his family, and thanks to generosity from members of this fellowship and the greater San Miguel community, we set out to raise $10,000 to help with hospital expenses. The total raised was almost $30,000. This support, too, and solidarity with Dr. Diego's family has meant a great deal to his wife. You may not have known her by name, but you would recognize her as the always impeccably dressed and gracious lady who would greet you warmly, whether on the streets of the San Miguel or at her store on Relo, San Miguel Shoes. Known as Martha, she too passed away this week of COVID. Louisa Fields lights this candle in honor of her life. San Miguel's well-known radio announcer, talk show host, and founder of the local television station, Javier Zavala, also passed away from COVID. Our sympathies go to his family, especially his wife Lucy, the former mayor of San Miguel. Trish Schneider lights this candle of sympathy and support for Sarah Hotch and her family. Sarah, who you may know as the director and founder of the Guanajuato Film Festival, lost her father Richard to COVID last week and her husband Ernesto to COVID on Friday. These candles don't lie. Illness and death from COVID is worse right here in our community. This is a candle of concern that people may be letting down their guard. Please continue to be safe. Yes, there's hope on the horizon, but it's not time to relax our precautions yet. This candle is for the courage and fortitude to keep on being safe. Many of us are full of conflicting emotions as a result of the recent impeachment trial in the US. This is a candle for truth, for justice, for righteousness, for better government, and for the healing of the United States. And as always, we light this final candle for all those joys, sorrows, and concerns that you've typed into chat this morning, and for all that remain unexpressed but are held deep in our hearts. And now we go to our guest minister, Walter LaFlore, for a time of meditation, prayer, and reflection.
Good morning. It's a joy to be with you this morning. Please join me for a moment of prayer, reflection, and meditation. Great Spirit of the universe, known by many names, by no name at all, be with us this day. Be with us in such a way that we can be renewed, engulfed in spirit, and awake to one another. Kindle a gentle spirit in us, that we may be awake to the needs of others, that we might be willing to help carry the weight of their fears and concerns, that we can be open to the recognition of thy spirit in those that share the earth with us. Help us to be willing to be vulnerable in the recognition of our own needs for community and affirmation. Be with us as we try to make sense of a world that seems at times to defy reasonableness, that seems beyond our ability to accept the truth of what is. Teach us patience, that we might be open to recognize the good that exists, even in the dark days that we must endure. Amen and Ashe.
This month, we are conducting our fellowship's annual pledge campaign. It is my pleasure to turn the microphone to our member, Stan Allen, who will share his thoughts about pledging with you.
Welcome to the UU Love Pledge headquarters. Valentine's Day is a great time to celebrate our love and our commitment to the fellowship and to remember why we keep coming back. 2 years ago, when I came, I was not looking for love. I came to support my friend Mark. But at the end of the service, I didn't have a single cringeworthy moment. Nothing about sin, shame, or blood. So I came back the next week, and I've been coming back ever since. Who would believe that I would find love in a rented room in a San Miguel hotel? This morning, I have Valentines of gratitude for every letter of the word pledge. I hope pledge will have more meaning to you as you prepare your own pledge. P, of course, is for principles. The principles are like our Constitution, our code of ethics, our golden rule, our moral compass, expressed in 7 clear, affirming, uncomplicated, inclusive goals. They are what we do, deeds that enrich our relationships, community, and planet, and give value and meaning to our lives. This first Valentine is from Viktor Frankl. Life is never made unbearable by circumstance, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. L for living legends. We have so many luminaries in our fellowship who live the principles and have shared their multiple talents to touch all corners of the expat and the Mexican communities. Mount Olympus would not be big enough to celebrate all their achievements. We thank you all for your heart and have a special tribute for one. There is a strong force named Betsy who lives in San Miguel, Mexico. When asked if she's ready, she nods her head clearly, and poof, there's 3 more NGOs. E for exemplary, exceptional essentials. Thank you to our essential workers for their steadfast leadership during this challenging last year. Your creative, pastoral, innovative hard work has strengthened our UU. You all deserve medals. Reverend Tom, I think that you are the Hank Aaron of reverends. After every sermon, Trish Snyder thanks you for another home run. And to Paula, her service and tech teams, congratulations on 46 weeks of inspiring, creative, and memorable UU service productions. I'm nominating you all for Zoom Emmys in every single category. And to our care and COVID teams, you are simply lifesavers. Mil gracias. This next Valentine to the Essentials is from me. Thank you for your fierce compassion, sacrifice, and call to action. You zoom in times of trouble, always protecting our quarantine bubble. Your grace and commitment are beyond compare. We are all better because you are there. D is for diversity. You had me at bring your whole self. Every time I hear it, it makes me feel like crying because I know the more congruent our inner and outer lives are, the better our mental and physical health. This Valentine's from Mahatma Gandhi. Our ability to reach unity and diversity will be the beauty and test of our civilization. G is for generosity, the letter that gives pledge its punch. This fellowship is so generous with its time, talent, and money. I am pleased to announce that we have received over $78,000 in pledges. We are on our way to a record-breaking year. To make your first or second pledge, go to the website, UUFSMA.org, click on Become a Member. The profile page will open. Remember, an impressive 50% of our budget goes to help fund 13 NGOs. This next Valentine is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. You cannot do a kindness too soon because you never know how soon it will be too late. The second letter E is for environment. UU feels a sacred trust and responsibility to care and protect our planet. 4 of the 13 NGOs we support are dedicated to programs that teach local sustainability, environmental education, and care and protection of our ecosystems. This Valentine comes from Amanda Gorman. We all care to protect the world, this riddled blue marble, this little true marvel, to muster the nerve and the verb to see how we serve our planet. The last letter S is for songs in service. The songs of UU, along with many incredible local musicians, make our music program enviable and unforgettable. It was so great seeing and hearing performances by 2 of our favorites, Yoremi and Almitri, several weeks ago. We all have our favorite songs, and even those songs that seem unsingable always carry a significant message. I love that John Lennon's Imagine is on the inside cover of the hymnal. The Last Valentine is one of my favorite songs, This Little Light of Mine, and I hope you'll sing along with me. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. In conclusion, and with your little light in mind, let's give until it feels good, so we can extend our touch further, wider, and deeper. Now that's love. Now I have just a brief moment of a shameless teaser. I have 7 handmade monideros from the Abba House Artisans, and they will go to the next 7 subscribers, pledge subscribers. Happy Valentine's, everybody.
Stan, thank you so much, and a special Valentine to you, because you are certainly one of the lights of the UUFSMA with all that you do to help the community, and particularly Abba House. So thank you for that. Anyway, as you probably know, this fellowship proudly supports 11 carefully vetted local NGOs, which make a big difference in our Mexican neighbors, to our Mexican neighbors. For 26 years, our fellowship has supported Mujeres en Cambio, an all-volunteer NGO with absolutely no staff salaries. This group helps Campo girls who live in extreme poverty with scholarships to continue their education from junior high through high school and even on to university. There's a famous African proverb that states, if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a family and a community and a nation. Studies have documented that the more education girls receive, the more positive the impact of on the health of their family, their involvement in their community, and the emphasis that they place on the education of their children. Let me share a story with you of one of these students. Reina was a university student who dropped out of her program to work full-time about 7 years ago when she was pregnant and her husband died. She worked for 2 years to save money and then contacted Mujeres en Cambio to see if they would give her another opportunity. They did. In her own words, and I quote, Mujeres en Cambio once again believed in me. For me to continue and to know that I am about to qualify is a great achievement and fills me with pride. I know where I come from and where I am going. My degree means love, dedication, and sacrifice by me. But it also means an excellent future and great opportunities for my family. Now I know that my son will have greater opportunities and an adequate quality of life. End of quote. On a personal note, I have had the privilege of helping distribute becas or scholarships to the Mujeres girls at their quarterly distribution. It is very heartwarming to see these girls gain confidence as they continue their schooling and see how well they are doing academically to maintain their scholarships. Each year, the graduating seniors are asked if they plan to go to university. And each year, the numbers of girls who are hoping to continue their studies increases. It's really amazing. And now, during the coming 60-second pause and piano music, please give generously to continue supporting worthy girls and women like Raina. Their successes will be like ripples in a pond. The benefits will go way beyond the individual recipient. Information on donating and pledging will appear shortly on your screen.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live.
Dum 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 dum
reading this morning comes from the book Faith Without Certainty by Paul Razor. Many of us share the widespread concern about the dwindling sense of community in American life, and some of us are especially concerned with the role of religious community. We say we want stronger communities, yet we seem afraid to let go of the individualist orientation that stands in the way. A shared belief in autonomous individualism is a poor foundation on which to build a deeper sense of community, religious or otherwise. The deep-seated individualism in our culture, in religious liberalism, reflects a misguided and dangerously outmoded understanding of the human self. We cannot adequately satisfy our longing for community until we learn to embrace a different view of the self. The importance of balancing the needs of the individual and the community will always be there. But the balance we strike, indeed our attitudes towards community itself, is affected by our self-understanding. We don't need simply to shift the balance between the individual and community. We need to come to a different notion of what it means to be an individual. We will not make much progress towards reclaiming the community we seek unless we grasp this. The liberal, modern, individualistic understanding of the self, though still widely held in liberal religious circles, is no longer tenable. It is rooted in an outdated philosophical paradigm and inconsistent with contemporary developments in the natural and social sciences. This idea is itself the product of a particular culture. In many ways, it's an historical anomaly. In other words, our liberal modern understanding of ourselves as autonomous individuals is an illusion. The truth is that we don't first exist as individuals who then form social groups. The groups always come first. As individuals, our identity are always formed in relation to a particular social context. We are social beings through and through.
I hope the title of my sermon today, "The Last Shall Be First and the First Last," might prompt you to think of one of the more memorable verses in our Bible. It's at Matthew 20, verse 16. I looked it up. The verse has universal meaning. This morning, I want to hold up the importance of universality, and more specifically, universalism. The backstory of the verse is about a landowner who hired laborers to work in the vineyard. Some were hired early in the day, others were hired sequentially as the day went on. At the end of the day, the landowner paid those, let me just start again here. At the end of the day, the landowner paid those hired during the latter part of the day first. He had asked them to line up, and he asked those who were hired last to be first in line, and those who were hired first to be last. The people who worked the shortest amount of time received the same compensation as those who worked all day long. Not surprisingly, those who were hired first, those who had worked the longest hour, complained. Whoa, wait just a minute. What's going on here? Those guys only worked a few hours, and yet you paid them the same as you were paying me. The landowner patiently explained that those who had worked the longest, those who had worked a full day, were getting a full day's worth of pay. What's the fuss, he said. You're getting exactly what we agreed to when you were hired. You're not getting cheated out of anything. He told them, it's my money, and I really have a right to be generous if I choose. The following verses in Matthew do not tell us whether or not that satisfied those that had worked all day long. I think there's a wonderful parable that speaks to universalism. Universalism is a philosophical, a theological orientation that speaks to a fundamental truth, universal reconciliation. Theologically, it speaks to a belief that all can be saved and restored to right relationship with God. Now, I don't have any interest in getting into a theological argument about the veracity of the claim. I simply want to hold up the concept because I believe it has a significant impact in how we live our lives. It has an important impact on how we perceive and interact with others. It's the real life implication, the real life application that I think is important for us to contemplate. I believe it's the concept of universalism that gives our faith its power. And more importantly, and this I want to highlight, it's the internalization of the belief in universalism that has the ability to impact how we live our lives. The concept of universalism plays too little a role in the lived experience of our culture today. It's a gift we UUs can and should bring to the world around us. You see, that verse says, it doesn't matter if you work all day. It doesn't matter if you pick more grapes than anyone else. You are not worth more than another. You're not more worthy than another. The last shall be first, and the first last, can be seen as the backbone of a moral code of conduct. Such a belief, if operationalized, would make it impossible for one to perceive themselves as superior because of their particular station in life. It would get in the way of those with more money or more education than another to adopt a perspective of superiority over those with less. It would put to a lie the belief that one is superior because of one's beauty, body size, or shape. It would make one sound silly if they made negative assumptions about individuals because they lived in a poor part of town or because they had a particular skin color or sexual orientation. Beliefs of superiority and inferiority get in the way of unity. They impede notions of equality. They separate us one from another. They can blind us to one another's humanity. The so-called right and the so-called left, for example. I associate the theological concept of universalism with our seventh principle. It speaks to the respect for the interconnected web of all existence of which we are a part. It states explicitly, we are part of an interconnected web of all existence, meaning we are part of something bigger than our individual selves. The implication is what affects one affects us all. Now I want to be explicit this morning in juxtaposing our seventh and our first principle that states a belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, the individual. Since it does not state a belief in the equal worth and dignity of every person, it leaves open the possibility that a tall person has more inherent worth than a short one, that one with more money, more academic knowledge, has more inherent worth than one with less of either asset. I want to be clear that I am not demeaning the first principle. It's a powerful statement. It's an important statement. In fact, it's largely what first attracted me to Unitarian Universalism. I thought then, and I think now, a community of faith that explicitly states a belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person would be of particular attraction to those whose identity has been and or remains marginalized. But if we look at the demographics of a typical UU congregation, either my presumption was and remains inaccurate, or our congregations could benefit from some introspection regarding the lived experience of our first principle. My lived experience of UUism is that there is a great deal of emphasis on the individual and much less attention paid to our interconnectedness with one another. Our interdependence between our congregations or even the larger communities in which we live. When I've stepped back and attempted to analyze our overarching dynamics, my observations don't surprise me. They disappoint me sometimes, but they don't surprise me. You see, UUism grew up largely during the age of the Enlightenment. I think, therefore I am. A powerful and an important construct, but a flawed one as well. It ushered in a separation of mind and body, a separation of body from the external. It grounds one's very existence in the thinking mind, a unique and separate mind. It implies one does not have nor requires a connection with the external. So if I am because I think is a foundational notion, it makes perfect sense. One would both highly value and vigorously defend one's thoughts and beliefs to such an extent that one's life might depend on it. Such does not bode well for a sense of community, inclusion, and acceptance. I want to hold up an alternative narrative, perhaps best framed by the phrase, I am because we are. I am because we are. The concept is captured in an African term, Ubuntu. Nelson Mandela defined it as a profound sense that we are human only through the humanity of others. The primary reference point is the other, interconnectedness, not personal thought or belief. It recognizes our personal best interests are intrinsically tied to the best interests of one another. Such an organizing principle imposes a sense of moral obligation regarding our responsibility to and for others. Ubuntu is a wonderful metaphor for universalism. As I close, I want to highlight that our seventh principle should be a gift Unitarian Universalism brings to this world of ours, and that we should be intentional in our sharing of our principle. Our world is in crisis as a result of this COVID virus. The experts tell us the primary tool we have to combat its powerful impact is to minimize the spread of the infection, that each of us must play a role to minimize the spread of the disease. If inherent worth and dignity of every person is one primary reference point, we run a grave risk that each person will maximize their own worth and dignity, give preference to their own wants and needs, with potentially catastrophic consequences. What's needed is for each of us to recognize and to be driven by the notion, I am because we are. With this as a primary reference point, decisions will be made based on what's in the best interest of the whole, what's in the best interest of the web, not what's in my own personal best interest. We will self-quarantine not because we like it, but because we are driven by a moral obligation to the greater good. What better gift could we give to each other and to the world than to be driven by an obligation to the greater good? What greater gift can Unitarian Universalism give to the world? May it be so. Amen and Ashe. Join me in singing hymn number 318, We Would Be One. The words will appear on the screen in just a moment.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. Us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free. Oh, make us free.
May we be bathed in the notion of Ubuntu as a way that we would be one. Go into your week in peace. Amen and Ashe.
Thank you, Walter, for being with us today and for your very important message. And thank you to all of you who have joined us today. I hope you'll join us again next week, where I'll pick up where Walter left off, discussing more of the powerful teachings we draw from our Universalist faith tradition. The service will also include next week a new member welcoming ceremony, where you'll get to meet some of our new members. As Linda reminded you, please stay on for chat and social time after the postlude. Our guest preacher, Walter, will be joining me, interacting and welcoming anyone who new might be joining us in the main room. And after your breakout rooms, he'll still be with us, so you can all come back to thank him if you would like. I want to thank you, all of you who've made your pledge. We really do need the help of everyone, especially in these times, in order to continue all our wonderful service within our fellowship and to the larger community. If you've not yet pledged, would you please do so this week? With today's service, we also bring to an end our participation in a 30-day UUA program, Side with Love, about which you've been hearing on the last 4 Sundays, and some of you have participated in UUA online offerings. Walter's message today reminds us that to stand with love, to stand on the side of love, means, among many things, to resist our own selfish individualism and strive to build beautiful, beloved community across difference. It means to recognize and emphasize our profound interconnectedness. True inclusive community means bringing the marginalized to the center and learning from their experience. To side with love is to understand our oneness and to know that we are defined by the beloved community we are part of and that we continue to build. As we now extinguish our chalice flame, we remember that we carry the light of this time together, of this faith tradition, with us as a guide to help us meet the challenges and the opportunities of the week ahead. We also remember, as Walter pointed out, we go out into a world of great turmoil, great division. These are troubled times, where truth seems to hold little sway, where hate raises its ugly head too often, and hope is sometimes hard to find. We are reminded that we cannot be complacent and look the other way. We cannot sit back and avoid the work that is to be done. We're called to be in the thick of it, to, in the words of that wonderful spiritual, to wade in the water, the troubled water. We need to leave the safety of the shore. We need to get wet in order to get to the other side, the place where love and justice, truth and equality prevail. May love always be your guide. May peace be with you till we meet again.